The 14th of December 2023 at Protestia Studios, and this is your intelligence briefing coming to you from Protestia.com. This just in, despite reports and songs to the contrary, yes, indeed, Mary did know. Now on to the headlines from Protestia.com. First headline, breaking abolitionist pastor Dusty Deevers wins bid for state senate, defeats Democrat foe. Abolitionist pastor Dusty Deevers has won his bid to become an Oklahoma state senator, defeating Democrat opponent Larry Bush 55 and change percent to 44 in a race seen as a victory for true principled conservatism. Deevers is a Southern Baptist who pastors Grace Community Church of Elgin, Oklahoma, and has been active in the SBC by pushing, pulling, and dragging the kicking and screaming denomination into a more faithful position on abortion abolition through his actions at the general conferences and his interactions with SBC President Bart Barber, whose behavior towards Deevers has been abhorrent. Most specifically, Bart Barber, the current sitting president of the SBC, donated money to Dusty Deevers' primary campaign opponent. And then when called out at it, acted like who he contributed to politically was apparently nobody's business. I still struggle to see how that can possibly be a viable position for a Christian pastor, much less a president of a cooperation, quote unquote, denomination as large as the SBC. But you can read more about this over at Protestia.com, where we have a whole bunch of links about the situation between Dusty Deevers and Bart Barber, and why, of course, we believe that Deevers is correct and Barber is wrong, and I would argue sinning, actually. Next headline at Protestia.com, Checkpoint Church, a church plant for nerds, geeks, and gamers, because, of course, why not? Thou art online at Checkpoint Church, apparently. They describe themselves as a welcoming and inclusive community that caters... we shouldn't miss that term, that caters to people from all walks of life. Of course, we have to start by throwing a flag and saying churches aren't supposed to be catering to people. That's not what a church actually is. But of course, upon just a casual examination, this Checkpoint Church is not an actual church. It's actually looks like just a Discord server, perhaps, or Twitch streamers and things like that. Founded by nerd pastor Nathan Webb, an ordained provisional elder in the United Methodist Church, no surprise. Checkpoint Church is a, quote, online church on Twitch, Discord, and YouTube catering to a very specific demographic. This looks like maybe an ad or something like that, or no, this, I guess, is just a post on Facebook for Checkpoint Church that welcomes people where they are. Let's watch a little bit of their channel trailer.
Welcome to Checkpoint Church, the church designed with nerds, geeks, and gamers in mind. Yes, we're really a church, and yes, I'm really the pastor here, Nerd Pastor Nate. I could tell you the awesome things that we do every day here in this community, but I thought it'd be better if you heard it from the community itself. So I asked them, what is Checkpoint Church?
Checkpoint Church has a Twitch streaming space. You can find us streaming on Twitch several days a week, playing anything from Pokemon to Minecraft or whatever is currently trending. And Nate can almost always be found playing some new indie game. The chat is a wonderful place to be, whether you're there to hang out.
I don't think you need a church to do this, guys.
Play along with the rest of the chat and trivia.
Plenty of Christians can play video games with each other without calling it a church.
Checkpoint Church is a Discord community. The people of Checkpoint are literally hanging.
And I don't think that you're going to miss out on all the other things that you're obediently supposed to be as a church. Now, this shouldn't be any surprise coming from the United Methodists, who long ago jettisoned what it truly meant to be a church by their refusal to actually preach and teach what the Bible teaches on a whole slew of things. You can read more about this over at Protestia.com, as well as see the rest of the Checkpoint quote-unquote church channel trailer. Next headline at Protestia, SBC pastor apologizes for not informing church of abuse allegations against former children's minister. This is from Ministry Watch. The pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church in Little Rock apologized to his congregation Sunday for failing to inform them of sexual abuse allegations made against a former children's ministry worker. This is Stephen Smith, who I, as far as I understand, they knew about the allegations against this former ministry leader for a long time. And of course, it opens up the question about how much do you tell the church if they're just allegations. It's a very difficult subject to handle. But the Southern Baptist Convention has apparently released guidelines for this. They're not judicial, guidelines that say the church has to do something, but they're definitely guidelines to say this is what we recommend you do. And they didn't do that. I don't think that they're legally held liable for something here, but there's more information about this if you want to read up on it and see what's going on. Over at Protestia, we have a link at the bottom that will get you over to the Ministry Watch article describing this in more detail, as well as a link to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette that talks about this as well. I read through that article, did not think it was wasn't entirely forthcoming with some of the truths surrounding the autonomy of the local church and things, but I'll let you decide for yourself. Next headline at Protestia: Pastor Emilio Ramos abandons Heritage Grace Church and is put under church discipline. Pastor Emilio Ramos is no longer a pastor at Heritage Grace Community Church, the congregation he planted and ministered to for over a decade. Instead, he has been put under church discipline due to, quote, sin against the elders and abandoning Grace Church, according to a notice posted on the church's leadership page, which reads that he is no longer a pastor at the church. He is currently under church discipline by Heritage Grace due to sin against the elders and abandoning the church. We pray that he will repent and seek restoration with the elders and the church. He's the author of Convert: From Adam to Christ, the founder of Red Grace Media, known for apologetics work, open-air preaching, and evangelism. He has become moderately well-known within the Reformed world after creating and appearing in the film Unpopular alongside Dr. James White and Justin Peters. Ironically, it was this film, he gave several presentations on church and pastoral responsibilities. It will be very curious to see exactly what's going on here. As always, we defer to, and our default position is to trust the church discipline process, as Protestia is a parachurch ministry for the edification of the local church. It looks like Emilio Ramos has spoken at events and created ministry content for Answers in Genesis, who we love, of course, Wretched Radio, who we also love, his wife, Trish Ramos of Fish with Trish fame. He's known for aggressively and obstreperously, I'm totally mispronouncing that, obstreperously? I don't know. Trashing Post Mills and the abortion abolition group, AHA. So I don't know, is he into trashing abortion abolition? I mean, that might fit pretty well with trashing Post Mills, but I'm an abortion abolitionist and am premillennial, so maybe they don't necessarily go together. In late 2022, a dispute arose between him and the leadership team regarding behaviors he exhibited towards congregants and other believers that they felt were unbecoming of a pastor and deleterious to his position. A meeting was set up to explore this further and address patterns of behavior the elders were growing increasingly concerned about. Rather than stay and work it out within the context of accountability as requested by the church, Ramos made other plans. He preached what would be his final sermon, and after the live stream was cut, he went off on other elders. So I'm presuming here that he was preaching things that were, I guess, maybe directly targeted at them, and that's why the live stream was cut. I don't know. We don't have clips of that so far. He preached this final sermon. He castigated the elders before their actions and then left, leaving the congregation hurt and confused at his sudden departure and abandonment. And rather than seek to restore and reconcile, he is yet to return, has not publicly addressed his church discipline, and told members that the Lord was calling him away from the pastoral office to other things, only to a month later, apparently, announce he was starting a church less than 6 miles away, where he established City View Church of Frisco in early 2023 and set himself up as lead pastor. We'll be praying for this situation, of course, and you can read this article and see some of the information as well as his prior church's statement. at protestia.com under the headline, Pastor Emilio Ramos abandons Heritage Grace Church and is put under church discipline. Next headline at Protestia, Church of England announces same-sex blessings can begin this Sunday. Next Sunday, I guess it'll be that they'll announce that they can do gay weddings. A month after the Church of England's General Synod approved a proposal by its bishops to allow clergy to bless same-sex relationships. Of course, they meaning, fake marriages and sexual relationships and all of the depraved and reprehensible acts that the Bible condemns. Eager hirelings and spiritual saboteurs are already making this a reality, with the House of Bishops voting yesterday 24-11 to allow this to begin this Sunday. For decades, the deplorable Anglican denomination has been drifting on issues of theology and human sexuality, proving time and time again that 26 million members are not the least bit committed to upholding the biblical teachings, but instead adopting the worst excesses of the woke movement and a pathetic and desperate attempt at relevancy, which of course it always is. You can read more about this over at Protestia, including the Prayers of Love and Faith page here that entitled Prayers for a Covenanted Friendship. Okay. And then Prayer for God's Blessing that indicates is the same thing, a blessing over this quote-unquote friendship, which is very clearly a depraved sexual relationship by any stretch of the imagination. Last headline at protestia.com, After School Satan Club to be held at Memphis Elementary School. Great. So the Satanic Temple, which to be clear is not a theistic worshiping Satan group, but instead a group that just calls itself that and is actually an atheist, I would say quasi-anarchist libertarian group, is having an after-school Satan Club at Chimney Rock Elementary. And here's where we see, sponsored by the Satanic Temple and Reason Alliance. So again, these are atheist libertarian groups. It's no secret that public schools are plagued with a sinful worldview and destructive ideologies designed to encourage children to conform to the world. From LGBTQ plus indoctrination to critical race theory, it seems there's little room for basic learning foundations in the public school system, and it sinks to a new low every chance it gets. It was announced this week that Chimney Rock Elementary School in Cordova, Tennessee will begin hosting an after-school Satan Club. According to their flyer posted on Facebook, the organization offers many fun and exciting activities, including science projects, community service projects, puzzles and games, nature activities, arts and crafts, and of course, snacks. We last wrote about the Satanic Temple in our posts. New Mexico governor is referring to women to the Satanic Temple for abortions, and so on and so forth. They are also the same group whose Iowa chapter erected this display at the Iowa Capitol. And I actually discussed this on the Bully Pew podcast recorded earlier today, which will be posted very soon, to see our take on this, as it caused quite a stir on social media and disagreements among brothers on both sides of an argument who I respect and whose ministries we support over here at Protestia. Read more about this over at protestia.com. Thank you so much for joining me for this edition of the Intelligence Briefing for the 14th of December 2023. Have a good rest of your Thursday. We'll see you again next time. As always, Semper Reformanda.